Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Caribbean Football Weekly Podcast, Episode 5, Season 3. I'm Simon Preston and joined as usual alongside Nathan Carr and Santokie Nagulendran. Santokie, how are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Just enjoying, or not enjoying actually, bearing the snowy weather here in London, which I'm sure you don't have a problem with in Jamaica.
I'm very jealous of you about that. Nathan, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, Simon. Hope everyone's well. Hope our listeners are well. And I was actually in Santokie's neck of the woods yesterday. Just got back quite late from the London Stadium as I saw my team West Brom snatch a late equaliser against West Ham. So yeah, quite an impressive stadium, but I just thought the atmosphere was lacking a little bit. So yeah, back from the London Stadium.
Yeah, it's very interesting, the different opinions that people do have about this stadium. You know, if you watch West Ham fan TV, still a local fans from East London are not happy with this stadium. They feel like the owners have sold them out. But let's see what happens in the near future. It took some time for transition for Arsenal, so let's see what happens with West Ham. So as usual, well, let's kick things off with news. Santokie, what's happening Guyana side?
Yeah, so in Guyana this Thursday, a massive announcement was made. So the Guyana Football Federation, working alongside sponsors Scotiabank, have decided to launch the first ever national academies across the countries. So this will entail 13 training academies aimed at boys and girls aged between 5 and 17. And this is to assist their development and make sure they have a structured development all the way up until they reach their national team level. So really, really groundbreaking for the region, and hopefully it's a success. So the 13 training centres will be based around the different regional associations in Guyana, which has also been a criticism in the past, with many feeling that there are parts of Guyana which have been ignored by the Guyana Football Federation. So in an attempt to address this, each region will have their own training centre, and also importantly, there'll be full-time technical development officers working at each training centre. So there'll be full-time members of staff who are being paid specifically just to work in the training centre, and that will no doubt benefit the youth of Guyana for years to come.
We certainly do hope so. Nathan, anything your side?
Yeah, just got some general news. Some rather sad news to begin with, though. The young Trinidad and Tobago footballer Abiela Adams has sadly passed away, aged just 15. She was a youth footballer for Trinidad and Tobago and played in last year's CONCACAF Girls Under 15 Championship. She was found murdered in Tobago, and apparently her throat was slit and not very nice at all. So rest in peace to the young 15-year-old Abiela Adams. Beach soccer wise, the Barbados Beach Soccer Showcase has taken place over this weekend on Brandon's Beach, just on the outskirts of Bridgetown. The first batch of games took place on Friday, and the tournament ends today. So this is basically a mini preparation tournament for the upcoming World Cup qualifiers. Consists of Trinidad and Tobago, Guyana, the host Barbados, Antigua and Barbuda, and England. So there's 4 out of 5 that are preparing for the upcoming CONCACAF Beach Soccer Championship. And also, finally, some transfer news. The Trinidad and Tobago pair, Alvin Jones and Jelani Peters, have gone on pre-season training trials with their MLS clubs. Alvin Jones, who's the brother of Jovin, has gone on pre-season training with MLS expansion team Minnesota United. That's the club that Kevin Molino has just recently joined for an MLS record fee. And Jelani Peters has joined Toronto FC's USL affiliate side. And in the last few years, Toronto FC's USL team have signed a couple of Caribbean players. Martin Davis, who some listeners might be aware of, the young player from Jamaica, and also Tristan Hodge as well, from Trinidad and Tobago also. So a bit of transfer news there.
All right, thanks very much, Nathan. And the news might end as well in Jamaica. There are 2 changes to Jamaica's upcoming friendly international against Honduras on Thursday. You're going to have Alvis Powell and Omar Holness, 2 members that were part of Jamaica's squad that went to the Under-17 FIFA World Cup in 2011. They're going to sit out this encounter, And coming into the squad is Andre Lewis, who scored for Jamaica at that under-17 FIFA World Cup in that 1-1 draw against France. And in addition to him is Fabian Grant of Harbour View. So those are the two changes for Jamaica. And in addition to that, another member who played for Jamaica at that under-17 FIFA World Cup in 2011, Nico Campbell. He signed a deal with Tampa Bay Rowdies in the USL. So he's joined his fellow Jamaican Damien Lowe at this club. Nico Campbell, as we know, played 2 of the 3 matches for Jamaica at that under-17 FIFA World Cup, playing in that 1-0 loss to Japan and that 2-1 loss to Argentina. So that basically wraps up news my end. So the 2 major talking points we're going to do is have a preview of the Caribbean teams that are going to be participating in 2 major tournaments later this month, and that is the CONCACAF U-20 Championship and the CONCACAF Beach Soccer Championships. So let's start off with the Under-20 Championship, which will take place in Costa Rica on the 17th of February. This tournament will also end on the 5th of March. We have 5 Caribbean teams being involved in this tournament. Antigua and Barbuda, Bermuda, Haiti, who are the defending champions of the Caribbean, Trinidad and Tobago, and St. Kitts and Nevis. Nathan, I'm going to start off with you as it relates to Group A action. You have the Mexicans, Honduras, Canada, and the Benin Boys of Antigua and Barbuda. They haven't been in this tournament since 1986. Mm-hmm. It's really going to be a tough task for them, isn't it? But they do have quality in their squad.
They do. So the squads were announced by CONCACAF early this week. Now, you're right, Simon. Antigua have been drawn into a very tough group. They've got Mexico, who are the reigning champions, CONCACAF champions at under-20 level. Honduras and Canada. They play Mexico in their opener on Friday. In terms of their squad, one of the standouts who has been called up is the 18-year-old Darren Buffonge, or DJ Buffonge, who plays for Manchester United's prestigious academy. Now, he's got Montserratian heritage as well as Antigua, and I think he qualifies through his grandparents. He has played for the under-18s. I think he might have played for the under-23s as well. He's a quick forward player who's apparently very good at beating his man. Haven't seen a lot of him. And a very dangerous player. So he's a bit of a coup for Antigua and Barbuda. You look at their squad, it's a mixture of domestic-based and overseas-based players. They've called upon some of the same players based in England who helped the team reach the final in the final round of qualifiers in October last year when they lost to Haiti. So, Jacob Blackstock is in there. Luther Wilding, who's the younger brother of Courtney Wilding, the senior Benin boy, he's in there. Mohamed Hakim from Mansfield Town. They've got a decent squad. I just think, though, ultimately, the caliber of opposition in their group, with the top 2 going through to the next round, it might just be a bit much of an ask for them to finish in the top 2. But I'm sure they'll put up a valiant effort.
Okay, I appreciate that, Nathan. And, adding to that as well, where Antigua and Barbuda is concerned, you look at the different fan channels of Manchester United on social media, there's a lot of hype surrounding DJ Buffonge and his progress in the under-23s presently. So you do feel that he can add that sort of cutting edge to Antigua and Barbuda in this tournament, where they're going to come up against the likes of the Mexicans, Hondurans, and Canadians, who are basically on the cusp of professional football, similar to DJ Buffonge. So that sort of experience in the camp and around him as well, it can be a massive, massive difference moving forward. Even Vashami Allen, the centre half, he was speaking to me saying that he's hoping to learn and experience different things from him and get advice, because you never know, opportunities will come up in the future that he can get an opportunity to play overseas. So learning from these players who are on the cusp of professional football, playing in England or other parts of the globe, is a big boost to the local players as well in this Antigua and Barbuda team. So that's what I'm really looking forward towards. And the other player that I would want to keep an eye on for Antigua and Barbuda is their defender Matthew Hall, who was born in Antigua and Barbuda but played at the likes of Fulham as well in England, plays locally now with Ford Road FC. But for me, he is one to watch. Santokie, do you give Antigua any chance as we progress into the tournament? Can you see them get into the second round stage, so to speak?
I think it'll be a tough ask, as Nathan kind of said. It's a very competitive group, and I can't. I'd say Mexico you'd kind of bank as kind of finishing top in the group. So it would be Antigua would have to get results against Honduras and Canada. Now, whether they can do that overseas as well, it's a very tough ask. So personally, I can't see Antigua and Barbuda progressing through the group, unfortunately.
I mean, I was looking at the Central American qualifying. I mean, Honduras finished top of that, didn't lose a game. And then Canada, although they haven't qualified for the Under-20 World Cup in about 10 years now, they did make it to 4 consecutive Under-20 World Cups between 2001 and 2007. So they've got pedigree. And the thing about Canadian youth football is it's always quite well run, well organised. You know, they're always prepared. They have training camps. So, you know, I don't want similar to you, Santokie. I don't really want to write them off before a ball's even been kicked, but they certainly got an uphill challenge. Another player, by the way, I forgot to mention, worth looking out for Antigua, is Javon Stevens, the centre forward, the captain, who signed a contract with Seattle Sounders at the back end of last year.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, one thing to say about this group as well, you look at Honduras, despite conceding only 4 goals in the qualifiers, 3 of those 4 goals came in the first half. They take some time to get into the groove of things. And one thing that I commended Antigua in their CFU final round in Curacao was the way that they started games. You could see that with pace and having that sort of aggression and ascendancy in that final third, how dangerous they can be. And, you know, an early goal or 2 can really knock the momentum off the likes of a Honduras or Canada. So for me, I'm not writing off Antigua and Barbuda as well. So if they do finish in the top 2, for me, it wouldn't be a surprise. It will be difficult, but for me, finishing second, it wouldn't surprise me at the end of the group stages where that is concerned.
You could see them potentially beating one of, I mean, I imagine not Mexico purely because of their strength, but one of Honduras or Canada.
I could, yes. So I would say 4 points could get them into the next round, the second stage of the qualifiers, that they call it classification stage. So that's what I think they would need, 4 points.
It's possible. I imagine their game plan will probably be quite defensive to start off with, but as you said there, Simon, you know, we saw in the qualifying, they've got a lot of pace, haven't they, up front? A lot of pace. Yeah. So they could maybe play the game plan of sitting back deep and then trying to hit the opponents on the break.
Absolutely, and what I admired from them as well, if you look at all the Caribbean teams that have assembled already in Costa Rica, they were one of the first to arrive. To get to know the facilities, the training facilities, they're always in the gym. If you look at the players on social media, they're so focused and well drilled towards this tournament. And they look at this as an opportunity for them to make a good impression in CONCACAF, because we haven't seen Antigua in a CONCACAF tournament, especially on the male side, in quite some time. So you could say this is the future of the Bena boys moving forward, and they're using this opportunity.
What do you guys make of their squad, by the way? The composition of it. Obviously, they've called upon some overseas based players. Leicester City are in there. 2 players from Leicester, Callis Gore and Elliot Webber. But do you think they've got that balance right in terms of striking that balance between, you know, the locally based players that play in the island itself, and then looking to recruit from overseas?
Yeah, I'd say they've got a good balance. It's not dominated by overseas players, but they have called upon, as you say, players from Leicester, Manchester United, which has kind of grabbed the headlines. So they have got a balance as well as local players. I think if it was exclusively locally, then I don't think they would have a chance. But having an influx of players who have kind of been used to a European academy system does give them a hope, although I'm still not too optimistic for their chances.
All right, I understand. And to answer your question as well, Nathan, I am I believe that as it relates to the balance of these teams, I think they do have a good mix. If you look at the players that they have called in, there's not many changes from the CFU Under-20 final round, which was in Curacao last year. So they've kept the general core of the team, which I find it's quite good because you don't want to mess with the chemistry and cohesion going into a major tournament where you're going to play in every 3-4 days. So from that point of view, I give top marks to Antigua where that is concerned. So, as it were, I think it will be very tough for them to advance, but I think if they're able to get 4 points, then they have given themselves a fighting chance. Although you look at it and they have the first game of the tournament against Mexico, so if they can, start things off where they try to get the Mexicans on the counter perhaps, then, let's see where that can go.
Stranger things have happened.
Absolutely. We've definitely seen that in the past in different tournaments as well. So let's go now to Group B, where we actually have 2 Caribbean teams in this group compared to one where we had in Group A. So Group B, we have the United States, Panama, St. Kitts and Nevis, and Haiti. As you know, St. Kitts and Nevis, this is their first appearance in this Under-20 CONCACAF tournament in 10 years. The last appearance was 2007, which was in Mexico. And Haiti as well, which is the Caribbean Under-20 champion, who has never qualified for an Under-20 FIFA World Cup. Santokie, I'll start with you on this one. You look at Haiti and St. Kitts and Nevis. Do you give either Caribbean team a chance to progress in the top 2?
Yeah, I would. I'd go with the Caribbean champions, Haiti. I mean, if you look at their kind of Caribbean qualifying records for this tournament, it was quite remarkable. I think they played 8 games. They scored 30 goals, so averaging almost 4 a game, and they only conceded 1 goal. So I think they're definitely a threat, especially in a group which isn't as strong as other groups in the tournament. I think they'll beat St. Kitts and Nevis. And Panama, I think they have a strong chance. I'm not sure about the quality of Panama, but they surely must have a good chance with that kind of attacking pedigree. Ronaldo leads the line for them, so I think it's Ronaldo Damas is their striker, and he's been prolific for them in qualifying, so certainly living up to the Ronaldo legacy there. So he's definitely a key man for them. And I think Haiti will grab that second spot. Again, as with the Group A and Mexico, in Group B, you've kind of got to admit that United States will almost certainly top the group just due to their strength in depth and the quality they have. So it'll be a battle for second place, but I believe Haiti have the strongest chance of all the Caribbean teams of progressing.
Nathan?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think out of all 5 Caribbean representatives, Haiti for me stand the greatest chance. They were very impressive throughout Caribbean qualifying. Santokie touched on it. I mean, the attacking football that they played, scoring 30 goals across 8 matches, and they've got kind of an embarrassment of riches going forward. You look at their 20-man squad. The kind of the key players are all in the final third. Ronaldo Damas is only 17, and already made a senior appearance, just aged 16 when he played against Costa Rica in the World Qualifiers. Janelle Desiree has reportedly been attracting interest of a couple of MLS clubs. His goal scoring record is fantastic at youth level for Haiti. You've got Roberto Luima, who won the Golden Ball Award in Curacao last year, scored twice in the 4-0 win over Antigua in the final. Again, like other Caribbean teams, they've called upon a few overseas-based players. You've got Canada, the Netherlands, France, even Brazil. So I think Haiti, judging from the way that they qualified and just man-to-man individual talent, they stand a very good chance. But as is often the case with Caribbean teams, I think a lot of the time, man-to-man, they are more talented, more naturally gifted than the North American, the Central American teams. But the question is, can they play collectively? Are they going to be able to play as a team? It's all very well having these exciting, all-action, prolific forwards, Haiti, but they need to be hard to beat. They need to be tight in defence, and they need to ensure that they're solid, because I think in the past the North American, Central American teams have got better than them. You mentioned Panama and the USA. I think yes, they are going to be the biggest challengers to Haiti in this group. The USA, obviously, regional powerhouses. They've called upon a lot of players from MLS. And Panama are a growing force in CONCACAF. They made their first Under-20 World Cup in 2003. They've qualified a further 4 times since then. And I was looking at their record at the World Cup played 2 years ago. And they actually drew to Argentina in their first game, which is no mean feat at all. And they lost by just 1 goal margins to Austria and Ghana. So this is a team that, there's certainly no pushovers. So I think, Haiti will certainly have a challenge, but I'm confident of their chances. And St. Kitts and Nevis, who are the other team in this group, I think it's fair to say for them that perhaps this tournament will be more about building for the future and kind of trying to take as many lessons and positives as possible rather than securing, a World Cup berth. I think Lenny Lake, the technical director, has kind of talked about that and said that the players, need to kind of be maybe looking more towards the long term for this tournament rather than, just being realistic rather than a World Cup berth.
Yeah, I think it's also important to mention that Panama's manager Leonardo Pepino he stepped down over the weekend. So at the moment there's a bit of turmoil in the camp with him stepping down for reasons unspecified. So that as well could work in Haiti's favor.
Yeah, and another thing to point about Panama as well, you could say that their spot getting into this championship was quite fortunate because it was actually Guatemala that finished 3rd in the Central American qualifiers. But because of their suspension from CONCACAF, Panama is a team that has got the spot. But regardless of how they're in this tournament, they've always been a dominant force in the region, especially in the last decade. Nathan made a point about playing in the Under-20 World Cup 2 years ago, and the core of that team was a team that came 3rd in a CONCACAF Under-17 Championship in Jamaica in 2011 when Jamaica had qualified. And that's when they went on to shock the likes of Costa Rica and Jamaica as well, coming 3rd in that tournament. They've always produced these talented, technical, gifted players that like to play on the ball, not a lot of long balls in the air, quite speedy as well, agile as well. So they're definitely a force to be reckoned with in this tournament. So looking at this group, I'm going to go with the United States and Haiti as my top 2. That's what I would go with. Panama and Haiti will be a tough match. It will be a toss-up. It could be a draw, could be goal difference at the end of the day for these top 2 teams. So Haiti is going to have to go out and secure 2 wins.
Would you agree with that, Santokie? Top 2?
Yeah. I think Haiti will get the 2nd place.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think it'll be very, very close, this one. I mean, we've pretty much ruled out St. Kitts and Nevis, but I think maybe they'll just fall short. But yeah, I think Haiti and the USA will finish in the top 2, and then it will be great to see Haiti at an Under-20 World Cup because, they've played in the Under-17 World Cup, but never at Under-20 level. In terms of St. Kitts and Nevis, guys, we want to talk about them just a little bit. Obviously, throughout qualifying, they finished the first round top of their group and then qualified in the second round as the best 3rd place team. I remember, Simon, you saying a few episodes ago that it was their win over Jamaica in the first round that really galvanised the team and gave them that extra belief and momentum after they lost to the Dominican Republic. They beat Jamaica and kind of haven't looked back since. From what I was saying earlier, do you think it's fair to say that this tournament for them is going to be mainly about getting the experience, building for the future, given that this is only their 3rd appearance at the CONCACAF Under-20 Championship, or am I being overly harsh?
No, I wouldn't say you're being overly harsh. If you look at the caliber of players, yes, you can say individually there is talent, but the experience is what is lacking at this level. And when you have high school players that is coming up against the likes of semi-pros and professionals, it's a whole different atmosphere. Yes, you have a few players that might be in the reserves of different club teams, or some players that are playing in university or college, but it is a different level compared to the likes of the United States, Panama, who are playing professionally or semi-professionally or on the cusp. So that's why I would say it would be a learning experience for them. I hope they use these 3 games wisely, test out the squad, see who can progress moving forward to the under 23 level for the Olympic Games qualifiers, or maybe even push into the senior team, because as we know, St. Kitts and Nevis senior team is going through a purple patch right now. We saw them rise in the rankings in 2016. So this is an opportunity as well for Jacques Passet as well to see which out of this crop of players can he move forward. We've seen Tahir Handley already, but other than him, is there anyone else, any other gems that he can pick from this? So for me, it is a win-win for St. Kitts and Nevis where that is concerned. But as far as the tournament is concerned, I think it should be a learning experience for them.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And any looking at their squad, any players that catch the eye, Santokie? I mean, Tahir Handley is probably the main man, and he's being mentioned there. But anybody else?
I was going to say Tahir Handley. Who else would be in the squad? Have they called up anyone else from overseas?
Yeah, I mean, interestingly, Romario Martin has been called up, and he plays Solihull Moors, my local club. So it'd be interested to see.
Your neck of the woods, yeah.
Yeah, how Romario Martin does. They've called up
and the
Leicester City goalkeeper, yes, Nathan Joseph Lescott.
Okay. No relation to Jolien Lescott.
I don't think so.
We don't know.
We'll have to find out. I don't think so. They've called up Ezia Brown
but
from.
Yeah. Go ahead, yeah.
Yeah,
well, let's go.
Brown,
He's a Birmingham lad, so you never know.
Yeah, you never know. Ezia Brown from the USA plays university. Raheem Summersall from the USA, but it's a mainly domestic-based squad. This really.
Yeah, as Simon said, I think they've they've got to go in with the mentality of progressing and winning, but I think overall it's a good learning experience for the team, and also will help build the national team. So if they look at it from that perspective, as Simon said, it's a win-win. There's nothing really to lose for them by taking part in this tournament.
All right. Well, other than that being said, Nathan, do you want to put your neck out on the line and say a top two from that group?
Yeah, I think first, the United States of America, second, Haiti.
Okay. All right. Santokie, you agree?
Yep, those two.
All right, then, no problem. All right, so let's move ahead to the Group C action, where we have the hosts, Costa Rica, El Salvador, the Gombe Warriors of Bermuda, and the Soca Warriors of Trinidad and Tobago. Nathan, back with you on this one. Bermuda is back in this tournament for quite some time as well. So we've seen a few of these Caribbean islands, the decades they haven't been in this tournament, but they're now back again. First time since 1980. So they're back in this tournament. A few prospects to look forward on their side, isn't it? Asagi Bascom, one that springs to mind.
Yeah, Asagi Bascom, the nephew of the senior head coach, Andrew Bascom. He's just this week, it's been made official by Bristol City that he's signed for them, short-term deal. I think it's 1-year contract with the option to renew. So he's certainly one to look out for. Bermuda, the last time they played in this CONCACAF U-20 Championship was in 1988. So it's been a little while. The current crop of players have been kind of coined the golden generation, which may be a little bit too far. I was speaking to Kano Smith, and he was saying that let's wait and see how Bermuda actually do at this tournament before they're called the golden generation. But I think what's really helped them throughout this qualifying process so far is the fact that they have players who are plying their trade overseas. So Asagi Bascom, prior to joining Bristol City, he was playing with Levante, their academy. You've got Casey Milan Butterfield, who since last year has been playing with Walsall. David Jones is at Ilkeston. Jackie Hill, the goalkeeper, is at Ilkeston. Teben Tyrell, the centre forward, is also at Ilkeston. So, the overseas experience that they've got, blended with the island-based players, gives them a solid group. Kyle Lightbourne has come out and said that they shouldn't be treating this tournament as as a holiday camp, a holiday destination. They're there to show their worth, not just to make up the numbers, which I suppose he's got to say that. Preparation-wise, Bermuda are heading to. They're leaving the island on Tuesday. They're heading to Florida, where they're going to play a warm-up game. The opposition is not yet known, and then from there they'll fly from Florida to Costa Rica in preparation for their first game against Trinidad and Tobago, who some listeners will remember they beat in the third place playoff in October last year. So they've shown already, you know, in the past that they can beat Trinidad and Tobago at this level. So if they can replicate the 2-1 victory that they secured last year, they've then got El Salvador and Costa Rica. It's a more favourable group, I think, than, let's say, Antigua's in Group A. But looking at the bigger picture, when all is said and done, can Bermuda get a top 2 finish? I feel that it might be a little bit beyond their grasp, to be perfectly honest. I think they'll give it a really good fight. They've got a competitive team. Carl Lightbourne is proven to be a shrewd, astute manager. But I think that the host Costa Rica and one of Trinidad and Tobago or El Salvador will just edge it and ultimately go through to the next round. But I'd love to know what you guys think.
Santokie?
Yeah, I mean, as Nathan said, I think Bermuda, they've got a talented team, as you said, a golden generation, but I think the group is just too strong for them. I do think Trinidad will, despite losing to Bermuda in the qualifying round, third place playoff, I do think they'll pose a stronger threat, just because looking at their team, they've got a very strong team with a good mix of overseas-based players and locally based players. So they've got the likes of Dylan up front from Central FC. He's just come back on trial from Europe. They've also got called up defender Noel Powder, who played for New York Red Bulls last season, and also their goalkeeper from Boreham Wood is a very strong talent, Montel Joseph. So I feel they've got a lot of depth there in the Trinidadian squad. Obviously, the headlines are that Levi Garcia has not been called up. I think that's because of his club commitments. So that's a massive blow for them. But I do think overall, Trinidad and Tobago have a strong chance of coming out of this group in second place. I'd like to get your opinions on how you feel about their squad.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with Santokie as it relates to Trinidad and Tobago squad. I'm a bit disappointed that you don't have Garcia in the squad. Brian Williams, their head coach, said that he was trying to acquire the services, even if it was just for the group stages, and he heads back to Holland after that. But unfortunately, it didn't work out that way. But I'm going to be honest, I think out of all of the Caribbean teams that are participating in this tournament, I back Trinidad and Tobago as the one to qualify to the Under-20 FIFA World Cup for me. So if they top the group, I wouldn't be surprised, but I'm going to go with Costa Rica first and Trinidad and Tobago second to go on into the next round. Bermuda will give it a good fight, and I think if they can I hope that they're able to leave with their heads held high, and hopefully they can start a bit of a momentum now, qualifying for CONCACAF tournaments every 2 years, get into a sort of rhythm, and I think they'll be a dark horse moving forward into this tournament.
I've also to mention that the Under-20 Trinidad and Tobago squad is currently in Colombia training, and they did have a 2-0 victory over Mexican side Club America's Under-20 side. So they are gaining momentum in the build-up for this tournament.
Yeah, I did see that. I think that's good, isn't it? Because preparation sometimes has held them back.
Yeah.
I followed the 2015 Championship quite closely, and I know the manager then was Derek King, and he complained after the tournament that the team had just not had enough preparation, compared to who they were playing. I think Panama, Guatemala, United States are in their group, and they'd had far more time to kind of together to gel with the squad. So they are the only Caribbean country from these 5 to have qualified for the Under-20 World Cup back in 2009. So looking at their squad, it is strong. They've got some depth in there. The only thing is for me they were quite underwhelming in the qualifying, particularly in the final round. I mean, they lost on penalties to Antigua in the semi-final, and then, as I said before, they lost to Bermuda in the third place playoff. And for Trinidad and Tobago, traditional powerhouse in Caribbean football, for them to finish 4th at Under-20 level you would see that as quite disappointing from them, really.
Yeah, I agree. I would say it's disappointing and surprising as well that they lost to the likes of Bermuda. But we see time and time again with a lot of countries, they might have a rocky qualifying, but in that sense, it kind of wakes them up. And when it does come to the big tournament, they kind of step up their levels. And as you said, Trinidad and Tobago seem to be having a strong preparation, and also the depth they have in the squad, which has been called up. I think they will gel together and peak at this tournament.
Yep, very good, very true. I agree, Santokie. It's about how you finish and not necessarily how you start. And we've seen that time and time again in the past for countries who have qualified for tournaments of any nature, whether it's CONCACAF or FIFA tournaments. We've seen how they perform in the tournament itself can be different from the actual qualifiers. Some may squeaking through a playoff, but in the actual tournament they do wonders and do wonderful things. So that's basically how we see how it going. So based on what we've gone through, it looks like perhaps we're going to have 2 of the 5 Caribbean teams, you could say, into the second round stage of the tournament. Before we move on to the next sort of topic area, I just want to ask Nathan, you look at the different sort of format for the tournament. Do you think this is good for the region or for Caribbean teams in particular? More games are being involved, yes, but I'm just a bit concerned about the space and time between games. It's 3 days between each game. That's the thing that I'm concerned about.
Yeah, I mean, I know Andrew Edwards as well has been talking about because the under-17 format's also changed. I think he's been talking about under-17, under-20, and how it's because last time it was 2 groups of 6, wasn't it? Now we've got 3 groups of 4. I think before there were more matches because say if Aruba, for example, in 2015, they played 5 games, a minimum of 5 games in the group stages because there were 6 teams in the group. A team like Bermuda or St Kitts and Nevis, if they got knocked out, eliminated at the group stages, they've only played 3 games, so that's less. You said there's shortage of space between games. They haven't got a great deal of rest, but I suppose that is part and parcel now of kind of modern tournament football. They do try and squeeze in as many games as possible. There's 2-3 days rest time in between each match. So kind of from a number of games point of view, it's less, which I think is a negative. But the format, of course, is top 2 from each group go through to the final round, and then from there the final will be sorted out, and the semi-finalists will join them. But I don't know whether this change was necessary as such. I haven't seen anyone come out and say, kind of outline the pros of such a switch, to be honest.
Neither have I. Santokie, are you baffled by this new format for the tournament? Does it baffle you, or are you happy with this new format for both under 20 and under 17?
I think this format it works better than having a large group purely because they're playing less games, but how beneficial is it to you in the last tournament, for instance, to play 5 games in quick succession? It would be almost it's kind of the same principle. Whereas at this point, we're smaller groups. I believe psychologically it will benefit the Caribbean teams because it would seem more attainable that they can progress. You've got 4 teams to go through. Whereas if you're in a big group with the likes of USA and Mexico in the same group, it's kind of psychologically daunting. So I think in terms of a Caribbean perspective, I think this format will benefit them more psychologically, if more than anything. And we know with football, often mentally is the most challenging aspect of the game.
Yep, very true. Now, looking at the different teams, I'll start with you, Nathan, on this one. Can you see any Caribbean team progressing to that under-20 FIFA World Cup? We still have a few rounds to go. The last time we have a Caribbean team going to that under-20 FIFA World Cup was Cuba back in 2013. Can you see Trinidad and Tobago or Haiti actually qualifying as one of the top 4 representatives from the region?
Yeah, definitely. Why not? I can see Haiti, or I said before, I think stand the greatest chance of advancing to the World Cup in South Korea. I can see Haiti from Group B. I can see Trinidad and Tobago from Group C. St Kitts and Nevis for me will probably fall short just in terms of their tournament experience and man-to-man. I know, Simon, you're probably more optimistic on Antigua and Barbuda's chances, but for me, it's just such a difficult group. Such a difficult group, and Mexico, I'm just being realistic. Mexico, I think will beat Antigua, so they've already got off to a bad start there. Honduras and Canada, as we've touched on already, are strong teams in CONCACAF, particularly at youth level. I really think Honduras and Mexico will take the top 2 spots in Group A. So that leaves Bermuda, who could spring a surprise. but I'm not sure that they'd spring enough surprises to actually qualify for the next round. You know, they might get a surprise result. You know, Asaji Bascom, you know, might light up the tournament, or Tevin Tyrell, somebody like that. But whether they would actually be able to get through to the next round, for me, I think that's just too much of a tall order. So yeah, I think Haiti and Trinidad and Tobago get into the next round, and if that happens, then you know the field is wide open. You know, they're then so close to securing a World Cup place.
All right, no problem. Santokie, you agree with Nathan's opinion on that, on the tournament?
Yeah, I think Haiti and Trinidad I think they're strong candidates to progress to the next round. Once you get to the next round, you've got to be realistic. Mexico, USA, you'd assume they're going to take 2 of the spots. So what you've got is the rest of the teams fighting for those 2 other places in the World Cup. But I do think Haiti in particular have a strong chance, especially if they can maintain their goal scoring record. I think they would be a match for any of the teams outside of USA and Mexico. So I believe, yeah, we will see one Caribbean team in the World Cup. Whether it's Haiti or Trinidad, we don't know, but I am optimistic.
All right, no problem. Well, that basically wraps up things for us when it comes to the Under-20 Championship. Now, let's go to the beach and let's look at the CONCACAF Beach Soccer Championship. I'm quite excited for this, to be honest, because of the 16 teams that are participating in this tournament, 9 of them are from the Caribbean. I'm so happy that you have more than 50% of the members in this tournament being from the Caribbean. Isn't it exciting, Nathan?
It is, yeah, it is. And I think I remember us saying before, it was 8 out of 16, 50% Caribbean representation. Obviously, since then, Guatemala, because of their FIFA ban, have left. Barbados have replaced them, which, as you say, Simon, puts it up to 9. I think it's good. It's promising for Caribbean nations for beach soccer. But still, despite the Caribbean having over half of the teams for this championship, I'm still looking at the likes of Mexico, the USA, El Salvador, Costa Rica. I'm looking at them really as the kind of the dominant, preeminent forces here, who are probably going to challenge the most for one of those spots. I was having a look at the rankings on the Beach Soccer Worldwide website, and obviously the Bahamas, who have qualified automatically virtue of being the host of the World Cup this year, are ranked number 1 from the Caribbean. Interestingly, Trinidad and Tobago ranked number 2. Jamaica are in at 3rd. Then Puerto Rico, who are not at this tournament. Turks and Caicos Islands, who I think historically have excelled more at beach soccer than they have actually at football on the grass, and then Antigua and Barbuda are just behind them. So I thought it was just interesting looking at the rankings and kind of trying to get a measurement of having not seen much live Caribbean beach soccer myself. Trying to get a measurement of the stronger Caribbean teams, and if a Caribbean side is to challenge one of the bigger boys, then who that might be. But Trinidad and Tobago certainly have been taking it very seriously. I know their preparation has been good.
Yeah, Nathan, if you look at Jamaica, we have a 16-man squad presently in camp, and of those 16 members, 12 of them play in the Red Stripe Premier League in Jamaica, while the other 4 playing lower tiers in Jamaican football. So basically you're talking about professional footballers playing beach football, the likes of Rohan Reed, who has played for Jamaica at holding midfield, Jermaine Tuffy Anderson, Waterhouse striker as well. He's part of the squad, and he was also part of that squad in 2015 when Jamaica went to the quarterfinals. So a majority of the squad is professionals from the Jamaican side of things. It is still taking some time for them to adjust, especially with the bounces and the ball movement. So it is taking some time for them to gel, but by the time the tournament comes around, they're pushing for a spot in the semifinals under Andrew Price. Santokie, this is the first time Guyana is participating in this in the beach CONCACAF tournament. Are you excited about this? Are you optimistic for their chances?
Yeah. Well, I'm very excited about it. As you said, it's the first time they've ventured into that kind of beach soccer arena. As viewers probably know, Guyana is known for its beaches, so they've been training in Trinidad and Tobago, and also been taking part in this preparation tournament in the Barbados. I mean, based on those games, you kind of get an indication of their level. They were 2-1 up against Trinidad and Tobago, eventually lost 5-2. They lost 5-1 to England, which, I mean, you'd have to expect, bearing in mind England's professionalism in that arena. But they did manage to get a 4-3 win over Barbados. So I do feel they have the potential to cause a few surprises. It would also be nice for them to pick up a victory over Jamaica, as since we started the show, I think Guyana have lost every single match they played against Jamaica, whether it be under 17, senior, cricket, you name it. Jamaica's got an undefeated streak. So I would personally like a win against Jamaica on that level, and then I'd be over the moon.
Well, the only thing you have beaten us in is at the women's level when the Lady Jags went to that CONCACAF Women's Gold Cup, which still hurts me. But yeah, other than that, you're right, basically. So, Nathan, as it relates to Group A, as we know, Bahamas is already going to be playing in the FIFA Beach Soccer World Cup, which is fantastic news for the region, hosting it as well. Bahamas, Jamaica, Belize, Guyana. Who do you think will be in the top two from there?
I think Bahamas, purely because of the program there, and that it's clear that they've pumped a lot of money into beach soccer in the Bahamas, far more than the game on grass. They've played a lot of friendlies over the last couple of years. They beat the USA, I think, last year. So the Bahamas playing on home sand as well. I nearly said home turf there. Home sand. Then obviously you've got Jamaica and Guyana. Now Guyana haven't, as Santokie touched on, they haven't been overly impressive in this Barbados beach soccer showcase. I'm not sure how much to read into that, but they're obviously new to this. And then Jamaica, 16-man squad. They would be stronger, I feel, than Belize. Now, I haven't seen Belize play beach soccer. I don't know what their pedigree is like at beach soccer, but I would say the Bahamas and Jamaica to take the top two spots in Group A.
Mm. Well, Jamaica did play Belize in the last edition of this tournament back in 2015. Jamaica was in Group A with El Salvador, Belize, and Puerto Rico. Jamaica beat Belize 8-5 on that occasion. So if Belize has the same squad, so there's just a bit of a head-to-head history there. Jamaica had beaten Puerto Rico 7-3 as well. And we're 4-0 leading the hosts El Salvador until they came back 7-4. So Jamaica starts well in matches, but it's how they finish is always to be desired in the tournaments, especially from 2 years ago. So I'm going to go with Jamaica and Bahamas as well. Santokie, I'm sure, will be going with Guyana and Bahamas, right?
Yep. Read my mind there, Simon.
No problem. Well, let's see. It's going to be an exciting 6 days of beach football for sure. Group B, we have 2 Caribbean teams participating. We have Barbados and Guadeloupe. We were supposed to have Guatemala, but since they are suspended, Barbados has taken their spot, and we'll have Mexico and Canada alongside them. Santokie, do you think one of these 2 Caribbean teams can get through over Mexico or Canada?
Well, again, as it's tough whether to know this is a real indicator, but bearing in mind this preparation tournament, Barbados have seemed to be very weak in their beach soccer. They lost to Antigua and Barbuda. They got battered by Trinidad and Tobago 6-2. They lost to Guyana 4-3. So it would seem that they're not a particularly strong team in this arena. So I would kind of rule out Barbados at this point. Guadeloupe, I mean, as with football, they're kind of an unknown quantity. I'm not sure what to expect from them, realistically. So I think Guadeloupe could be a surprise package, but I'd expect Mexico and Canada realistically to go through to the knockout stages, just because they're used to this kind of, they've got experience in this and they always play at a high standard. So, I mean, Guadeloupe may spring a surprise, but if I'm going to place a bet, I would go for Mexico and Canada to progress.
Nathan, this is Guadeloupe, as we know, they're not a FIFA member. This is their World Cup, so to speak. So they may put all their eggs in one basket and go all out in this.
Yeah, I mean, I've been checking out the Reggae Boyz beach soccer page on Facebook, and I know they've been in training now for a couple of weeks, doing various training sessions and drills and stuff. So, as you said, that they're not a FIFA member though, so this will kind of revolve around development for them. Even if they do manage to get in a position where they can actually qualify for the World Cup, they won't be able to. The next best team will take their place purely because they're not a FIFA member. It's really hard to kind of see past Mexico and Canada taking the top 2 places. Guadeloupe, yes, okay, it's their World Cup. It will be their big stage, but are they better than Mexico? Well, Mexico are the reigning champions at CONCACAF Beach Soccer. Canada are going to be well prepared. They're going to be well resourced. They always are. And then Barbados, on the evidence of the showcase recently, they haven't done very well. And I just feel that those two, Barbados and Guadeloupe, might fall short. Mexico, though, I think, let alone Group B, they'll be kind of favourites to take the overall title. In the game played on grass, they always tend to produce quite small, nimble, technical players, and I'm sure that transfers over to beach soccer. And the skillful flair players, who can produce the extraordinary tricks and bicycle kicks and whatnot. I know Mexico. In the past have produced players like that. So I'm sure that they'll take first place. I'm pretty confident of that, and Canada will follow just behind, unfortunately, for the Caribbean.
Okay. All right, then. Yeah, I'm going to go with Mexico and Canada to finish in the top two as well. Santokie, you agree?
Yeah, Mexico and Canada.
All right, then. No problem. Santokie, I'll start with you on this on Group C, the United States, Trinidad, Antigua, and the U.S. Virgin Islands. 3 Caribbean teams involved in this group compared to 2 in previous groups as well. So you're going to have at least 1 Caribbean team advance into the quarterfinals. How do you see this one panning out?
This is going to be a really, really exciting group, in my opinion. I mean, both Trinidad and Tobago, who are taking part in that preparation tournament in Barbados, they both look pretty strong. I mean, Antigua and Barbuda drew 5-5 with England, which is impressive, and they also defeated Barbados 3-1. Trinidad and Tobago seem to be prolific in finding the goals. They scored 11 in 2 matches. So those 2 teams look very strong. But then on the other hand, you've also got United States, who are a powerhouse team similar to Mexico and Canada, have unlimited resources. So you'd expect USA to qualify. But other than that, it's going to be an interesting battle between Trinidad and Tobago and Antigua, and also US Virgin Islands. They're not such a strong team in footballing terms, but in beach soccer, I think they could score a surprise just because US Virgin Islands has a lot of beaches. They'll have players who have maybe gone and trained in America. So US Virgin Islands could also be a strong team. So it'll be a very intriguing battle to see who kind of finishes in second place. Again, if I was a betting man, I would bet with Trinidad and Tobago. They've had a lot of preparation and the results have been good so far. So I think they have a little bit more quality than the other 2 teams. But anything could happen in this group.
Yep, I agree with you there. Nathan, the US and Trinidad?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, obviously the US are powerhouses. The Trinidad and Tobago seem to be kind of one of the leading sides in Caribbean beach soccer. As I said before, ranked number 2 in the Caribbean at the moment. And I've been speaking to their player Chad Apu, who plays for the Trinidad and Tobago beach soccer team. And he's been saying that their ranking is high. They beat Mexico 5-4 at the Lucayan Cup in the Bahamas in 2015, I think it was. They've played Swiss Beach Soccer League teams last summer, and Chad himself has played in Italy, so he's got a bit of experience. So I think Trinidad and Tobago have got enough about them to finish in the top 2. Antigua and Barbuda, now I'm pretty sure that they played in the last edition of the CONCACAF Beach Soccer Championship. I'm pretty sure that they were making their debut. They were new to the championship. They only lost 4-1 against the USA, and they've given a pretty solid account of themselves in this showcase tournament held in Barbados. And the US Virgin Islands, bit of an unknown quantity. I know there's a bit of administrative upheaval going on in their football at the moment, which may affect their performances and their preparation. So I feel, having said all that, yes, the USA and TNT will finish in the top 2.
All right then, no problem. All right, let's go now finally to Group D, where we only have 1 CFU member. We have El Salvador, Costa Rica, Panama, and the Turks and Caicos Islands. Nathan, you look at Turks and Caicos team, and they have a number of players that they would normally use in their professional rank on the pitch, on grass. What I enjoy most about this tournament, although they don't have the most quality of the teams in this group, they're going to leave by playing at least 6 matches, because even if you don't finish in the top two, you go into a placement stage where you have teams that finish between 9th and 16. So you're going to play 6 matches basically in 6 days. So even if you finish in the bottom two in the table. So it's another wonderful opportunity for Turks and Caicos, playing more matches, being together, etc.
That's true, yeah. I think I quite like that about this this year's tournament. You know, I just say every team will play a minimum of 6 matches. Obviously, the top two will progress to the quarterfinals, but I just think that gives, although it make it a little bit more long-winded, it does give those teams that might otherwise be eliminated at the early stages a few more games, a bit more experience, and often, that is a key word, experience. The more that they play, the more that they gel, the better it is for future development. The Turks and Caicos Islands, now obviously they're the sole Caribbean representative in Group D. I know that in early January this year, they did play 2 friendlies. They travelled to Nassau, the capital of the Bahamas. Now they played the Bahamas and lost. I think they also played Switzerland as well and lost. Although they lost both of the games, I know that the youngster Mackerson Cadet, who featured on the 2016 Caribbean Stars list, he scored a hat-trick against Switzerland, and he's likely to be included in the squad that goes to this championship. But Panama, Costa Rica, El Salvador, these are strong Central American outfits. Can they do enough to get into the top 2? Probably not, in my opinion. But I'll certainly be interested to follow their progress, in the later games and see where they finish. But I think they definitely have hope for beach soccer, and it seems to me that they generally excel more and they play more beach soccer than the equivalent on grass.
Yeah, one thing I admired from the Turks and Caicos last year, in every match that they played in, 2 years ago, the last Beach Soccer Championship in 2015, every match they played in, they scored at least 2 goals, and Mackerson Cadet scored in that 8-3 loss to Mexico on that occasion. Santokie, you look at this as well, and I'll throw it to you as well, same thing to Nathan as well. 6 matches at least for the 9 Caribbean members, so even if you don't finish in the top 2, you're going to play more matches together, and it gives an opportunity for the sport to grow, raise the profile as well.
Yeah, definitely, it's always good, and I also like the fact that there's a placement stage, so even if you're eliminated from qualifying for the tournament finals, you kind of still got an incentive to play just to find out whether you can finish 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, and that kind of also gives you bragging rights. So yeah, 6 important games for the Caribbean islands, and yeah, no doubt they'll benefit from the experience regardless of where they finish.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, from Group D, I'm going to have the Costa Ricans and El Salvador. Turks and Caicos, I would love to see them finish 3rd in the group, but let's see how they do in the placement stage. Nathan, what do you think?
I think El Salvador to finish top, and then Costa Rica just behind. That's what I think.
All right, Nathan. Santokie.
Yeah, El Salvador and Costa Rica will be the top 2.
Okay, all right. Well, that basically wraps up the 2 tournaments that we have coming up next week. So, gentlemen, is there any questions that you guys got on social media that any fans wanted us to answer or anything like that? Santokie, I think you have one, I think.
Yeah, let me just locate the question. Yeah, so the question was, how is Mariano Diaz performing at Real Madrid? So if either of you, Simon or Nathan, could address that question, and that's from Brian.
Mariano Diaz played for the Dominican Republic in a friendly against their neighbours Haiti. Yeah, that was in 2013, wasn't it? So a few years ago now. But that, as I say, that was a friendly. So we've got a situation where there's Mariano Diaz. He's playing at Real Madrid. He was formerly with the B team. Zinedine Zidane took a liking to him, and he's made solid progress. I know last year he made his senior debut. He scored his first goal for the Real Madrid first team. I think it was against Deportivo. So he's making really good progress at Real Madrid. I know there's more and more hype about him online, social media. I think the question was saying, obviously how is he doing, but maybe making that link to the Dominican Republic. I just think the FA it's a combination of maybe not being able to persuade him because he's still holding out for a Spain call-up, bearing in mind that Diaz himself was born in Spain. You know, he only qualifies for the Dominican Republic through his mother. So you can understand that with his form and being at such a prestigious club like Real Madrid, you can understand him wanting to hold out the moment. He is still young for a possible Spain call-up in the future. But there are a few players from the diaspora that the Dominican Republic could potentially recruit in the future. There's Raul de Thomas as well, who also plays for Real Madrid. I think he's been out on loan, and he was born in Spain but has heritage. Pablo Rosario is another one, quite high profile, plays for PSV in the Netherlands, and he has heritage from there. So there's quite a few from the diaspora, but I just feel that with the Dominican Republic, they've got to make it more of a viable, attractive option for these players. If they're not playing competitive football for, let's say, a year or 2 years, bearing in mind they've been eliminated from the Caribbean Cup qualifiers and the World Cup qualifiers, then it's probably quite difficult, you would imagine, for them to actually attract these star players from overseas.
Yeah, I agree.
And if I was Diaz, I would personally play for the Dominican Republic, and I hope he's 23 years old. He still have time to make a decision, but I would personally play for Dominican Republic because if you look at the striking forwards options for Spain, it's a lot of depth, especially going into the 2018 World Cup qualifiers, as it's presently going, and even the next Euros in 2020. You're talking about the likes of players in his age group, the likes of Morato, Aspas, Nolito, Diego Costa, Pedro. So it is a lot of depth in those striking areas. So for me, I would go with Diaz, and hopefully he makes up his mind and plays for the Dominican Republic full time, in a sense that he commits his international status and future to the Dominican Republic. He's something that definitely would draw excitement to the Dominican Republic, in the sense that, as you know, basketball and baseball are the two top sports there. It could raise the profile with football, especially in the Spanish Caribbean. So it's an opportunity there.
He could become an icon, couldn't he? Could become a cult hero there.
Absolutely, he could definitely be. Santokie, what do you think as well? Should he hold out for Spain or wait for or choose Dominican Republic?
Yeah, as you said, I mean, realistically, is he going to make the Spain squad? And then also, I think with these decisions, you've kind of got to make a quick decision, rather than if you kind of give the impression you're waiting for Spain and then you're only playing for Dominican Republic because Spain haven't called you. It's not really endearing yourselves to the fans or the footballing country. So I think he does have to make a decision and just stick with it. I would personally, at this point in his career, as you said, I would go to Dominican Republic, purely because is there a realistic chance he could get in with Spain? But then also, on the other hand, as Nathan said, Dominican Republic aren't competitively featuring in any tournaments at the moment. How does the federation present it as a viable option for him? Bearing in mind he'll need to travel from Spain to Dominican Republic to play any games. How do they make it seem like it's a worthwhile prospect?
It's true, isn't it? It is true. I mean, if you look at the squad that played in the Caribbean qualifiers last year, the final round, they had only a few that were based in Spain. I know Adipo Rodriguez, there was Carlos Martinez, and the big one is Tano Bonin from Osasuna. Now they've been able to attract him, and Tano Bonin was born in Spain. He's part of the diaspora. He qualifies through his family, and he was able to commit to the Dominican Republic. So you could argue maybe it's all down to the individual loyalty and commitment of the player.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. And, just a little tidbit there on Diaz as well. He's the first player who has represented a Caribbean nation who has gone on to win the FIFA Club World Cup. He was part of Real Madrid's team that won it in 2016 last year. So I do wish that he can have a progressive career with Real Madrid and he gets ample playing time moving forward for Real Madrid, and hopefully goes on to play for the Dominican Republic. But Nathan, it's quite interesting as well as it relates to the Dominican Republic. They've called up players who've played in other leagues like in Germany and Switzerland. A player that was also the captain of the Dominican Republic team for some time, the centre-half, Heinz Bartmelo. He was born in Switzerland. He was born to Switzerland to a mother from the Dominican Republic. it's quite interesting. You even represented Switzerland as well, and you tried so early at 29. So there are opportunities out there. There are players in the diaspora that they can tap into. It's just about doing the necessary research on it.
Definitely. And I think, I've said it before, I do think the Dominican Republic should be, succeeding more in the Caribbean. You look at the population, they're one of the biggest countries in the Caribbean, around 10 million. They've got their own professional league, which they set up 2 years ago, so the LDF, which should create a decent player pool locally. Then they've got all these players from diaspora, who are often born in Spain, with Barm Lettler born in Switzerland, an exception. So if they could mix, locally based, locally born with players from the diaspora, then, they would be a pretty formidable team, and that you think that they'd be able to rise up and be one of the better teams within CONCACAF, because, they've never qualified for the Gold Cup. They've never done much in the World Cup qualifiers, and they always seem to be sleeping giants, in the Caribbean.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to agree with you there. Santokie, you agree with Nathan's sentiments as well. You look at the Dominican Republic. We're talking about a country with over 9 million people, only the second largest to Cuba. So they should be doing better in footballing terms.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of been a sentiment in the region that Dominican Republic and Curacao have kind of been sleeping giants in the region based on the talent they have. And Curacao have kind of woken up in the last year. So I'm just waiting for Dominican Republic. They have the potential. It's just putting everything in place, the system in place for them to realise their talent. And then I do believe they'll be a strong force in the CFU region. They've certainly underachieved in the past few years.
I know a lot of their fans on social media do, regularly complain about the FA, and they always, complain about kind of organisation, and I'm not sure they're necessarily the biggest fan of the president, Osiris Guzman, but, I suppose it's what happens on the pitch that matters.
Absolutely. Yeah, we do hope that their circumstances, especially on the administrative side, can improve in the near future. Well, that basically wraps up episode 5, our end. Nathan, is there anything you'd like to say to the viewers before we sign off?
No, obviously, thank you for listening, as always. If you'd like to check us out on SoundCloud, then do feel free. And also, we are on iTunes. You can subscribe. I mean, I always put it on my Twitter feed, the link, so do feel free to do that. If you'd like to actually leave a review as well, I don't think we've got any of those so far, then feel free. Positive feedback, negative feedback, always welcome. And if you've got any questions, obviously we had one today on Mariano Diaz, which created some debate. If you've got any questions, anything Caribbean football related, men's game, women's game, youth football, whatever it is, then do send them in, because we are more than happy to answer them. Absolutely.
Santokie, anything your side?
Yeah, no, just to echo kind of what Nathan has said. Yeah, thanks for all the feedback we've been getting on social media. Any more is welcome. Also, if there's any news or anything you feel we should bring up on the show, feel free to tweet us that. We're more than happy to mention it. And yeah, just keep listening and supporting, guys, as we grow this channel.
Yes, I agree 100%. Can't believe we're almost halfway through season 3 already. Thanks very much. It's a pleasure to speak to you both, Nathan and Santokie. I'm Simon Preston signing out, and see you all next week.